Well, hi there, Sax Gourmet fans. It's Steve Goodson. It's Tuesday night. So once again, I am speaking to you from our ultra top secret command and control bunker here at our Sax Gourmet World Headquarters located in the historic Garden District of Old New Orleans. More specifically, we are located in Sector R. Now, a couple of things before we dig right into this very vitally important topic tonight, which is what you ought to take with you wherever you go to play, but particularly if you're going on a road trip. I want to call your attention to the fact that my wife has quite a sense of humor, and she presented me with this shirt today, just kind of as an apology to my beloved 90-year-old mother and all that. But Mama tried. She did, and all of that. Yes, we do want to have Jody Espina here with us. We're honored that Mr. Espina is watching us tonight. He is a wonderful, wonderful man with a fine line of product. And my good buddy, Casey Ray Lipe, is down there, and Casey, he got my back. Now, I want to thank a couple of people who helped me prepare this today. First, I want to thank my good friend, business associate, and mentor, Mr. Eric Satterley, the owner of Meridian Winds. Eric is a wonderful, wonderful man, helps me every way he can, just as I try to do for him. But, and then I had a wonderful conversation about this with my very, very dear friend, Big Jim Simonetti. Now, for those of you out there in the Los Angeles area, I'm sure all of you know Jim Simonetti. What a monster player of all the woodwinds, but he's an even better human being. And I'm very proud to say that he's been a member of the Sax Gourmet Posse for going on 25 years now. And we seek his advice regularly because he's a great guy. Okay, now what we're going to talk about tonight is hello, Richard, how's things up in Detroit? But what we want to talk about tonight is what belongs in your case and in your gig bag. Now, let me define gig bags as it applies to for the purposes of this discussion. When I go to a gig, I got my horn, and you know, my cases don't have a lot of room for stuff in them, but I always carry a shoulder bag. I've got a very nice leather shoulder bag that carries all that junk that you got to have. You know, I'm 68 years old, and I've been going all over the world. I've played on every continent except Antarctica. I've been going all over the world playing the saxophone all of my adult life. I started taking money for playing when I was just a little over 13 years old. And believe me, I've seen what can happen to you when you don't have the right stuff near at hand. So let's talk about it. And let's go ahead and deal with the worst case scenario first. And our worst case scenario is, hey, you back in the green room getting ready to run out in front of all those thousands and thousands of people, and suddenly your horn won't play. Now, why would that be? Well, I can tell you that first, every professional saxophone player, I don't care who you are, hello, Joe, and Daniel, how are you, sir? But I don't care who you are, you need to know something about the basics of saxophone repair, and there is no excuse for not knowing, because, listen, there have been so many times when I was out there on the road and suddenly something ain't working right. When I was playing around town, you know, I'm a big neurotic when it comes to repairs, but when I'd be playing around New Orleans, I mean, you know, I'd be there, and at the end of the first show, man, I'd get my cell phone out and I'd call Sharon and say, Sharon, put that buffet tenor in a cab, send it down to the convention center. I just can't deal with this Selma or whatever I was playing at night. But you need to know how to fix your horn. And we've got a couple of resources. If you'll go to our nationofmusic.com site and look, you will see that we have some instructional DVDs. Now, granted, it's best to learn repair from somebody, and I do have some repair students right now. But you're not going to be able to learn how to do it from a book, and you ain't going to be able to learn how to do it off the internet. I don't care how many little videos that somebody or multiple somebodies might make telling you how to do it. We have some DVDs to teach you how to do saxophone repair at nationofmusic.com. And if you're going to, go away from home with your horn, even if it's just down the street, you need to know how to fix it. So, get yourself some knowledge on how to do this. Okay, so let's talk about the tools that you need to carry with you. Now, those of you who know me and have visited my repair shop know that I'm the biggest sucker for saxophone repair tools on the face of the planet. Hello, Raul. I listen to your radio station today. But here's the deal now. I'm going to talk to you about the very basics that you need to keep with you at all times. Did you hear me? At all times. Because if it can go wrong, it probably will. And here's a few things you need to do. The first thing you need to get, and don't spare any expense. Here, don't cheap out. Get yourself the best screwdriver you can afford. Now, most of the major supply houses sell good quality screwdrivers: Music Medic, Fareese, Allied, J.L. Smith, Krause, Votal. All of these people sell good quality screwdrivers, but really, don't cheap out, and don't go down to the hardware store and get one of those little plastic boxes that's got 4 or 5 little dinky screwdrivers in there. Because, well, I got to have one with a small tip. Are you kidding me? You got to have one with a big handle, because you may need to torque a rod out of that Barry sax, and you ain't going to do it with one of those little weenie screwdrivers. Don't cheap out on a screwdriver. Don't. Matter of fact, get several. Now, the next thing you need to get is some round nose pliers. Now, I happen to have a pair of pliers here on my desk here, and as you look at these boys, you can see that they've got serrations up here. Yeah, there we go. And as soon as you wrap that around a post or something like that, you're going to scratch up your horn something terrible. But a nice round nose plier won't do that. And so, keep it looking good now. So get that. Now, another thing that's always nice to have on hand, and I've always got it in my tool bag, is one of these Leatherman tools. It unfolds and it's got all kind of different stuff. Hell, that comes in handy, not necessarily for working on your saxophone, but you might have to do something to some of the band's equipment here on short notice, and the roadies ain't got what you need. Another thing that is absolutely essential that you have is a spring tool. In other words, don't use a crochet needle. Come on, don't do that. Get yourself a real spring tool. They're cheap. I use the ones from Music Medic, and I sure do think they are great. But get you a good spring tool, because you're going to have to, no matter what you do to the keys, you're going to have to take the spring, disconnect the spring from the nipple on the rod, and then you're going to have to hook it back up. You may need to adjust the tension. Those things are so cheap, it's unbelievable. Now, another thing you need to do is go down to, now I know you can get these at Ace Hardware, and probably a lot of other places, but Benzomatic makes a splendid little handheld butane torch. You can get butane at any drugstore. You may not be somewhere where you can get a big bottle of propane or MAP or any of that stuff that we use. But these butane torches, and I think they're about $20, something like that. You can certainly use them to heat up the shellac in your pad cups. Should you need to replace a pad or tighten one up or whatever. And you can also even solder with one. Now, it's not, hello, Robert, good to see you here. I'm not saying it's the tool of choice to solder with, but I will tell you that I keep one of those with me at all times, and it's bailed my butt out many times. Pete Fluck, you better believe we want to welcome our good friend, Saxman Pete Fluck. He's a great guy. If you're looking for some good vintage horns, Pete Fluck's the man you ought to be talking to. All right, now, if you can't figure out what's wrong with your horn instantly, then you need to get a leak light. Now, I used to carry one of those, what they call a rope-type light. It had a plastic tube that was flexible, very flexible, and it had LEDs in it. It kind of did, but in a dark room and all that, you can spot where the trouble is. Okay. But now we use, and we take with us everywhere we go, one of those Novus leak lights from Music Medic. That thing is so bright it will singe your retinas. But that's what you need, because you're not going to find all the leaks in your horn unless you got it well illuminated inside. And you need to learn how to use a leak light. And by that, I mean that you need to understand that when we're closing these keys, we got the light down in there, we want to close them with the lightest possible pressure. Because just muscling them down, that's not the way you play. And so don't think that muscling it down is going to show you where the leaks are, because it's not. So get you a good leak light. Another thing, and I do highly recommend that light from Music Medic. I've used those ever since they came out. And listen, they just work great, and they roll up small and all that. It's a wonderful product, wonderful product. And another thing you need is a good supply of single-edge razor blades, because you're going to have to cut some stuff. You might need to trim some cork or some felt or such as that, or, whatever. We don't do that anymore, but whatever. But having some single-edge razor blades is something you're going to need on hand. Now, let's talk about some supplies that you're going to need. First, foremost, don't leave home even to go down the street unless you've got a supply of rubber bands in your case. All sizes, all shapes, and don't leave them in there 5 or 10 years, and then when the time comes to use them in lieu of a needle spring that's broken or such as that, be sure that you hadn't left them in your case so long that they dry rot. I was on a gig one time where somebody broke a spring, and don't worry, I got some rubber bands. And he got those rubber bands out, man, they'd been in there forever, and they just immediately broke, and it was no good. So get some good ones. Now, another thing, next time you're down at the place of business of your favorite repair technician, hit him up or her up for a little baggie, and in that baggie, you ought to have some pieces of cork of different thicknesses, and I highly recommend Tech Cork from Music Medic. You need to have some sheet felt, that real good high quality stuff here. I got a piece here on my bench. Look at this stuff, man. That's pool table felt. Ooh, that stuff is good. It is stable, and you just trim it up. And some of those little felt discs that go under the keys, like between the A key and the bis key cup, and some other places on the horn. You also are going to want to have, it's not a bad idea to have that sheet felt in different thicknesses. And you want to have also some sandpaper. Now, we don't use sandpaper, we use emery paper. But cut it in strips. I was giving a lesson to a repair student the other day. He said, cut that strip just like index finger, that long, that wide, and have several grits on hand. We usually take with us 220, 320, 400, 600, 800, and 1500. Just little assorted little pieces. It's not you don't need a whole sheet, because I may need to trim, lap some of that cork in, such as that. Now, it ain't no good to have cork and felt with you if you ain't got a way to attach it. How you gonna do that? Well, we've tried everything under the sun. We have, and there's a lot of different things. People say, oh, you got to use contact cement, or the old timers use shellac and all that. Now, all that's true, but I want to show you something. I got a bottle of this right here on my desk, because I was doing a little repair here. If I can just get it out of it. There we go. There we go. Come on out of there, you. I want to show these folks what kind of glue to get. I buy this at Ace Hardware. This is Loctite brand Control Gel. Now, this is a CA type glue. Ordinary people know that is super glue, but it's not like other super glues. Most super glue is very runny and sets up just about instantly, so you don't have any time to manipulate the work a little bit to get that little piece of cork to fit just right or whatever. This stuff is a nice thick gel, and it has a set time of about 60 seconds or so. Jimmy Haig, glad to have you with us, my friend. You have to excuse my dog. I indulge my dogs too much. But that's my dog, Harvey, barking over there. There must be some good-looking little female dog walking down the sidewalk in front of Sykes Gourmet World headquarters here. But anyway, we've tried all different kind of adhesives, and this stuff's cheap. I buy it at Ace Hardware. You can get it just about anywhere. But I can't say enough good about that. Is good for any gluing situation that you're likely to have. Okay, now here's some other things that you got to have with you. First, you got to have some key oil with you. Now, hey, Jimmy, honored that you joined us tonight. Now, let me tell you something about key oil. Most of these companies that are selling you key oil are just selling you cheap oil. You've got to have a key oil that has a detergent component to it. In other words, you take that needle type applicator, you put it between the gaps in the key work, you squeeze off a drop, and it goes in there, and it cleans out all that gunky stuff from the last oil application, and it'll come out. You'll see black stuff beginning to kind of flow out. Just dab it off with a Q-tip or whatever. But if it's not high detergent, you're just adding to the gunk. Now, I will tell you that on our Nation of Music site, our Steve's Bourbon Street Key Oil is absolutely high detergent. And once you use it, you won't go back to anything else. It's not cheap, but then you're telling me you're going to oil your $7,000 horn with 3-in-1 oil? I didn't think so. Okay, another thing or two that you got to have. Remember I was talking about having that emery paper and those strips like that? Take the one that's 1500 grit, put the abrasive side toward the tone hole, press the key cup down with a light pressure, and pull that emery paper out so it just cleans off the top of the tone hole. Now, 1500 grit is less abrasive than your toothpaste, okay? So don't let any of those knuckleheads on Sax on the Web, the Saxophone Misinformation site, tell you that, well, you'll be cutting down your tone holes and removing metal. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Some of those guys are actually old enough to shave, too. So don't take their advice. But anyway, once you get the tops of the tone holes clean, if you got a sticking key, clean the top of the tone hole perfectly, and then apply a good pad powder. Now, let me talk, there's two kinds of pad powders. There's the kind of pad powder that absorbs moisture, and most of those are made of talcum or cornstarch or God knows what, and then as soon as it gets a little moisture in it, it kind of lumps up, and that'll cause all kind of little leaks. Your horn won't play worth a damn. Get a pad powder that is going to repel the moisture. That's the only kind to use. Did you hear me? That's the only kind to use. And that, of course, I would recommend Mojo's Never Stick Pad Powder because it will repel moisture. And I'm going to tell you one other thing about Mojo's and some of our other saxophone carrier products. They all smell like hippie girls. Yes, they do. And I want you to understand that hippie girls are well-known friends of all saxophonists. And the use of all our Mojo's products and Steve's Bourbon Street Key Oil and Steve's Voodoo Pad Juice, all of which smell like hippie girls, it's been shown to actually attract hippie girls. That might be something you want. Now, by the way, anytime you guys want to, you feel free to like this presentation and share it with your friends and neighbors and anybody you want on Facebook. Now, if you look at your pads and they're beginning to look a little dry, you want to, because they're fine leather, you want to kind of make them supple again, and we have a product for that. That's Steve's Voodoo Pad Juice, and I ain't going to tell you what's in it, but I am going to tell you that it will revitalize that leather that's drying out and make it seal, which is something you want. Now, another thing you've got to have, and I got to tell this story. For many years, I played with a very well-known band that had some multi-million-dollar sellers and all that. And I was just a hired help, but I kept that gig with that band for 9 years, and I'm damn proud to have it because they paid me well. Johnny Evans, now wait a minute, I want to tell you something. We got a rock star in our midst now. This is my good friend and good customer, Johnny Evans. And who is Johnny Evans? That's Kid Rock's saxophone player. You better believe it. And you don't get that job by being a slacker. Johnny Evans is the real deal. But anyway, I used to have this roadie. The roadie's name was Termite. He was a little short guy. He's about 5 feet tall. And one of Termite's responsibilities was that he was supposed to be sure that for every show we did, every show without exception, I was to have a fresh 9-volt battery in my wireless, a fresh one. I don't want to hear, well, you know, you only played 45 minutes last night when we were in Dallas, so, you know, it's going to be all right tonight. The hell you say, I want a fresh battery. They're cheap. So get your roadie to make sure you always got the right thing. Now, here's another thing that I always keep with me, and I would recommend that you do as well, is I always keep a little bag full, not many, of the pivot screws and the key guard screws that go on my horn are just sure as you know, they're going to work their way out. Sooner or later, you're going to be out there on a gig, and you know, pivot screw's going to back out. You ain't never going to find it, and your horn's going to fall apart. Something right there before the assembled multitudes. So, you know, ask the people that sold you your horn if they would kindly provide you with some of those pivot screws, because backstage, just before you go on, you ain't going to be able to acquire any. So be sure and get some of those. Now, I hope all of you guys are using SaxRack stands. I know I've been using them since. As a matter of fact, I have the very first SaxRacks ever made. It's in my warehouse right now. The very first one. You know, the prototype. But at any rate, and so, yes, see, the home folks know about my good friend Johnny Evans. Richard said he's the best in Detroit, and I believe that. I believe that, yes, sir. But anyway, I sure, if you don't own a SaxRacks, I would sure recommend that you look into getting one, because they're just nothing like a SaxRack stand for protecting your instrument. And I want to tell you a couple of things that come with my SaxRack, or that I have on my SaxRacks. you got the base. And there in the base, I got a bag. I got two bags, actually, that I use on mine. One of those holds some spare reeds, even though now, full disclosure, I now only use synthetic reeds, so rarely do I use spares, but you never know, and I'm neurotic. But also there, in addition to those spare reeds, I've got my cell phone. 'Cause who knows, I might need it there while stage is dark. And then I've got another bag that goes on my Saks racks underneath there, and it's waterproof. And you know what? We put a few bottles of water in there and some ice, and ooh-wee, baby. All I got to do is reach in there, and it's not just one of those nasty bottles of water that's sitting there in front of you, or that you have to run back to the back line and grab, but it's nice and cold and all that, and under those hot lights and all that, you know what I'm talking about. It's very refreshing. Okay, so as long as we're talking about my cell phone, I want to tell you something. Don't cheap out on your cell phone if you're a professional musician, and here's why. I use Apple products exclusively, and I use the iPhone, the current. I've got an 8S, I think is what mine is. Anyway, that phone on the road, man, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Now, don't forget, that phone ain't gonna do you a damn bit of good unless you've got an extra charger with you. In other words, you can plug it in the green room if you need to, not back at the hotel and not on the bus. But, there. John Poussin, glad to have you, my friend. But at any rate, get you an extra charger, carry it with you. They're cheap. Now, on my Apple iPhone 8S, I've got a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful tuner. And don't be afraid to use your tuner, and encourage everybody else in the band to do likewise. But I also have a very high quality 4-track recorder on my phone. Are you kidding? Yeah, I got it right there. I've also got my complete address book with thousands and thousands of names. Because, I may need, I may be playing in Des Moines, and I need to know a couple of important things, a couple of important people. I need to know the contact information for the best repair technician in Des Moines. Okay? By the way, y'all go ahead and like this. Come on, let's see some more of those little blue thumbs up things float across here. Y'all like this and y'all share it with your friends. Now, another thing I want to have within my phone with me, I want to have all of my contacts with the media. Now, remember this. The media is a hungry beast. Look at all those little blue thumbs. I love that. I love you all. Have a nice heart. I don't know who's doing that, but I appreciate it. But the media is a hungry beast, and it has to be fed every day. Those people who write the entertainment columns in the newspapers, that have the online websites about local entertainment and all that, they got to come up with a new topic every day. And you know what? They'd be real pleased if you would make their job a little easier by providing them all the information they're going to need about your show and, all that background stuff and whatever lies you plan to tell them. So remember, the media is a hungry beast. Now, I used to play with this guy many years ago, and we were going all over the country playing and doing all kinds of things you probably shouldn't. And one thing that he always did is, in addition to those phone numbers that I already talked about, we just had little paper phone books, little personal phone books that we carried around then for cell phones. But he always carried the telephone number of his favorite bondsman in every city in case we got in a little trouble. But your cell phone now, really, it's got email, it's got access to the internet, it's got a good camera, And it's a good thing. And a lot of the bands now, they have all their charts in such a form that instead of having a big, folder full of music or a book and the pages are numbered and all that, it's all on iPads now. And really, that's a great way to do it. Okay, now let's take this a little further and talk about some business stuff. And I'm going to speak specifically to a couple of my students, and you know who they are. You know who they are. Something you got to have. You got to have a high quality business card to give to everybody you meet. They're cheap, okay? I get mine printed at Vistaprint. They got my picture on them. But more importantly, they've got my email address. They've got my cell phone number. They got my office phone number. They got my website address. And so, anybody that I meet, I can give every bit of information they need to know about me or to get in touch with me. It's right there on my card. And don't think you're going to stand around in the hallway just before you run on looking for a piece of paper and writing something on a cocktail napkin or something, got your phone number, and then when they get it home, they can't read it or they forget your name. Listen, we buy those cards by the thousand, and really, it's less than $20 a thousand from Vistaprint for like 3, raised lettering and a full color picture of your handsome self, me, and all that. And really, don't cheap out there. Now, here's some other stuff, business stuff you got to have with you in that shoulder bag. And don't you leave home without it. Always, always, always have some CDs in there. What? CDs? Steve, we sell those for $20 a piece, and I can't afford to give those away. Are you kidding me? Now look, you need to try this crap on somebody who hasn't been doing this for a long time, because I know how much those CDs actually cost. Okay? They don't cost hardly anything. And so anybody that you meet that can do you some good, might want to book you at their club, in the next city, or we're having a class reunion. Well, I don't play class reunions. This is going to have 1,000 people. Oh yeah, I'm all over that. What's your budget? But have some CDs, give it to them, and autograph it before that you give it to them, and make sure your business card is stuck in there. Now, another thing you have got to carry with you, wherever you go, don't leave home without it. You must carry a proper press kit, and you need to have this in the form of paper, printed out, in case that entertainment editor or the blog writer or whatever happens to make their way back to the green room, and you say, yes sir, I've got it right here, and here's something that was written about me in the Detroit Free Press, and then the Washington Journal wrote about this, or whatever. The Offbeat magazine in New Orleans wrote this about our band and all that. Yeah. Make it easy for them. Understand that all these people in the media, by definition, are lazy as hell. The more their work that you can do for them, the more they can do for you. So make it easy. Make it easy. Now, another thing that I always have with me in that shoulder bag is have some T-shirts. T-shirts from your band. Yeah. Now, don't think, Steve, we sell those shirts for $25. Listen, I know what they cost. We buy them. We sell them, and all that. I know how this works. And believe me, a T-shirt goes a long way. It goes a long way. And I've got good customers, like my good friend Casey Light. Every time Casey's band's got a new T-shirt, he makes sure I get one. And Casey's always at the head of the line around here. There's our good friend Eric Satterley here, and we are honored to have him with us. and not a finer man in this industry. But at any rate, you have a supply of T-shirts there, and give them out. And I'll tell you something else. Young girls like T-shirts. They do. And if you have any questions about T-shirts, I want you to go to the nationofmusic.com site and look up the Sax Gourmet T-shirt. And there you're going to find the full text of the Rock and Roll Textile Protection Act. And you need to make sure that all these young women that get one of your T-shirts are aware of every provision of the Rock and Roll Textile Protection Act. That's very important. So let's do that. Now, another thing that you need to have in your bag there, and just all this fits in a shoulder bag. Now, you don't have to carry a lot of this stuff because you can keep it on the bus and just reload your bag as need be. But always carry some good-looking official pictures and not printed off on just regular paper on your computer, but come on some kind of heavy stock. It doesn't cost much. Or you can get that stuff and run it through your printer. I know we do that here. But get your pictures professionally taken. Don't let somebody's girlfriend that owns a camera take a picture. No, get somebody that takes pictures for a living, because that's going to be how they remember your band. Yeah, Bubba Harding, my good friend. I'm honored to have him here. Now, another thing you're going to need is you're going to need a blank notebook, because I need to write down something, that you said or whatever. Okay. And in order to do that, and in order to autograph the pictures and the T-shirts and the CDs and certain vital portions of young women's anatomy, you're going to need some Sharpies. So get some. Now, here's another thing that you got to do. And I don't understand why bands don't do this, but there's not 1 out of 10 that does. I know in quite a few of the touring acts that I've worked with, in reality, we play essentially the same show every night, which means if you see us in Austin, then if we're in Dallas the next night and then in Houston, every 3 of those shows, they're going to be the same. So why in the world don't you have some set list already printed up in big letters, so when you have them taped down to the floor, you can read the damn things in the dark? Go ahead and print them up in advance. Have them there, and hey, a genuine set list from Steve Goodson and the Low Budget Horns is something that many of your fans will cherish if you autograph it. Now, one other thing that you need to have, and I'm going to tell you that this goes a long way toward impressing those young women. You need to have some of those nice laminates, on that nice little thing you wear around your neck that say full access. Right, they love it. And you have some of those right there with you. Don't make them go to the will call thing, because they're already back there with you, or if you see one you like, you can send a roadie out to get them, Not that I've ever done that, but, and that 6 foot tall redhead over there, take her a laminate. Anyway, but don't short yourself on this stuff. All right, now let's talk about some other things that really you need to do. And something any of my private students will tell you that I teach here, that there are a lot of guys that can play, okay? And to a large extent, I think I can teach my dog Harvey how to play, okay? But the entertainment industry, it's just that, the entertainment industry, it's as much a visual art as it is a musical art. And anybody that tells you that it's not a visual art, now, I'm just going to wear blue jeans and a T-shirt. Well, that sumbitch is going to be playing the jazz brunch every 3rd Sunday at the Holiday Inn, because he ain't never going to play Madison Square Garden. You can be sure of that. Hey, Eric Olson. And listen, Eric Olson is a world-famous stage designer. I mean, this guy has been all over now.
and he's good friend of my wife's and mine and all that. But I mean, this guy, you need a good staging device. Eric Olson's your man. All right, so don't shortchange yourself on your grooming, and that starts with a good hairbrush. And don't be back there in the green room trying to find who in the band's got a brush. Take your own, and get a good one. Now, it's always a good idea to have a change of clothes, okay? Now, this doesn't have to be your full stage outfit, and those of you who know me know I got some dandy outfits now. I do. But if something goes wrong, something happens, or those wardrobe cases don't make it to the green room in time, I have in my bag some roll-up clothes. I got a roll-up nice pullover shirt, and I got a Susan Burks. Now, Susan Burks was, she was one of the infamous Waxettes from when I was playing with Dusty Wax back in the late 80s. Susan, I'm honored that you're with us. But at any rate, you get you a spare set of clothes that roll up, don't take, just in case something goes wrong. And while we're on that subject, always carry with you one of those little ultra portable sewing kits, because you might have to stitch something up. And also, and my granddaughter, Sarah Jane Crutchfield, Sarah Jane, what are you doing watching this? Don't you know better than that, girl? She's pretty too, boy. That's a good-looking girl. But she got a boyfriend now. So you guys put it out of your mind. But Sarah, I'm honored you joining us. But anyway, you make sure that you've got a sewing kit, just a little one, just for emergency repairs, and some safety pins. Because, you may split your britches or something running around on the stage. That's happened to me. One time I was playing with... Hell, I don't remember who this was with. I think it may have been with Greg Allman a long time ago. And my pants split. And I didn't have any safety pins, anything like that to preserve my dignity. Not that I had a lot at that point in the game. But at any rate, carry that stuff, and be sure and carry toiletries. Deodorant will be appreciated by the rest of the bandmates. Just all that stuff that you need. Be sure that you get that stuff. Now, I'm going to get down to some of the stuff that Ronald Messina, glad to have you with us, my friend. But I want to tell you some other stuff that I have in there, because none of this stuff takes up much room. But boy, will you be a hero when the rest of the band finds out you got it. Wherever I go, on the road, I've always got a drum key with me. You ever known a drummer that could keep up with his drum key? Hell no. They lose it all the time. By the way, y'all can like this if you want to. I'd like to see some of those little blue thumbs up, and you feel free to share this. So I always have a drum key in your gig bag. Another thing I usually have with me is a couple of those mic clips, that go on the end of the mic stands and all that. But those things all the time breaking. You know that. And they get rough treatment, or they get left, or whatever, and they're cheap. Another thing that I've been such a hero for having this, I'll have one set and one set only of electric guitar strings. Oh man, when suddenly that guitar player realizes he needs a high E string and he ain't got one, and I don't care if he usually uses 9s and all you've got are 11s, he's going to be damn glad to take that 11 from you, and you'll be a big hero. And another thing is to carry just a small bag of electrical adapters. Different kind of cable connectors, impedance matching transformers, all that stuff. Y'all know what it is. You see that all the time. And maybe some speaker wire, a little bit of speaker wire, because who knows what's going to go wrong. You're going to have that stuff. Now, Bev Bizzup, boy, I tell you, we get, and listen, Bev is up in Philadelphia. She's a master woodwind technician, master technician, and a wonderful woman too. She's been a guest in my home several times. But anyway, here's one other thing that you need besides all that just miscellaneous electrical hardware is, and if you don't know, ask one of you sound guys about this, something called ground lifts. And sometimes you get to a venue, a club or something, and no matter what you do, you can't get that hum out of the PA, 60 cycle hum, it won't. And what these ground lifts do is don't ever clip that third prong off an electrical cable. Don't do that because it's there for your protection. But they convert a three-way into a two-way. And, it really doesn't get that irritating hum out. So, all that's the stuff I don't leave home without. If you will carry all of that stuff, you may not use some of it on every trip, but by the same token, if you ever have occasion to use any of it, you'll be glad you got it with you. And the rest of the band will be very glad that you got it with you. So, as always, I've enjoyed speaking with you. We convert these seminars to YouTube within a few days, and then once we got them on YouTube, we then put them on our nationofmusic.com site, and you'll see a section there that says Steve's Video Seminars. And I don't know how many we got up there. 20? I don't know. We got a bunch of them. We've got seminars on all aspects of live performance, instrument design, instrument maintenance, instrument repair, saxophone acoustics, 3-part series on that. We got all kind of stuff, and it's all absolutely free. Free for the taking. I'm picking up the tab for the bandwidth and the production and all that stuff. But you guys go there and help yourself. I'd appreciate it if you'd buy something while you're there, but you are not required to do so. Speaking of buying something, now we're coming up, today is August 28th, and we're coming up on Labor Day weekend, and guess what? We are having a big sale on all our Delrin, original design Delrin tenor sax mouthpieces. Bernard Jean from up in Canada, he bought a nice horn for me one day. Took it all the way back, too. And I hear from him all the time. But anyway, we got a good sale going right now on those Delrin mouthpieces. Now, they're expensive, but they're $200 off. $200 off. You can take that money and take your significant other out to dinner somewhere nice for Labor Day. So, in the meantime, till we meet again, if you guys have questions, feel free to call me during business hours anytime. I'm glad to answer your questions. And I thank you very much for all the support you've given us for these seminars. And I want to remind everybody, practice long tones every day. Keep your reed wet. And always, always, always play Sax Gourmet. Why? Because Sax Gourmet plays best. Well, that's all for now. So thanks for being with us, and everybody have a nice rest of your evening and nice holiday weekend. This is Steve Goodson. Goodbye for now.